And welcome back, everybody. We have an outstanding show planned for you today. The great Jeff Dye is sitting next to me. You'll see him in mere moments. He is a nationally touring comedian, actor, appeared on 1 million television shows, comedy special, The Last Cowboy in L.A., filmed in Nashville. Also, he was a host on The Masked Singer. He's been a Girl Code. Oh, there he is. Joel Pollak is going to stop by, senior editor at large and in-house counsel at Breitbart News. He's a South African, which I didn't know, Harvard educated, social study degree, environmental studies at law. Pollak served as chief speechwriter for leader of the opposition party in South Africa Parliament. So he will be with us to report on some of the shortcomings here in the California and local governments as it pertains to the fires. Jeff and I live here locally, so we both have a ringside seat and all this. We'll have a lot to talk. We have a lot to get into today. We'll watch you over on the Restream and also on the Rumble Rant. So we'll be back right after this.
Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. You have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins, and a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue. And we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15, pentadecanoic acid it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15.
Please welcome Jeff Dye. I didn't realize he and I have been swimming in the same waters for a long time. But you mentioned that we were both on MTV back in the... You know, I quietly was continuously on MTV, continuously until this year, since 1996.
What? Wait, till this year?
Till this year, because of Teen Mom. Teen Mom went 13 years.
They were saying I aged out at like 28. I don't know how. I saw it on emails. Well, it was like literally.
There's a reason I'm gone. But I think I outlasted Kurt Loder, just not quite as consistently on the air.
They would forget sometimes that I was on those like big group emails, and they would be like, hey, we've got this new show that's kind of a spin-off of the same kind of prank idea. We're looking for a host that's Jeff Dye-like. And then one of the people was like, just get Jeff Dye. Not knowing I'm still on the thing, they go, Jeff's aging out. I was like, I'm 28. It was hard on the old ego. I felt like a running back in the NFL or something, calling me old and I'm not even 30.
If we would just get those NFL salaries, it'd be great.
Yeah, MTV was not good money.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk about your special.
Yeah, sure.
Last Cowboy in LA.
Yeah.
Where, when, why?
Shot it in Nashville.
Where?
The Electric Jane, which is a really cool music venue. And I love cigars, and it's like a cigar place too.
So our son went to Vanderbilt, so we spent a lot of time in Nashville.
Yeah, and I love Nashville.
It's the best. Yeah, it's becoming a little bit of a weird Vegas-y thing on Broadway. It was not like that when he started at Nashville.
Which I regret giving up drinking because
that is funny.
Yeah, that's
very
that's
Clint
the
Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yes, very
and
good.
And also, if you notice on that cigar, I'm going through my cowboy phase, but that cigar has a red pill on it. And
Beautiful.
Oliver Barrett, who made the poster, designed the poster, came up with the poster, he was like, I think this is a perfect way of you sitting back and observing what's going on since COVID and Black Lives Matter and all that. And like, you're really getting into your cowboy phase.
Brilliant.
And, my next tour is called the Vendetta Ride, which is also a tip of the hat to Tombstone.
V for Vendetta.
Well, you know about Tombstone, like when Wyatt Earp decided, screw all this, I'm burning it all up.
Oh,
when
yeah.
he shot all those cowboys. That's the next one.
When's that coming?
That'll be in the next year, yeah.
Can we invite us, please? I want to go
would love
see
it. Yeah,
that live. That'd be
100%,
so
yeah.
fun. Would that be in Nashville also? You don't know yet.
No, that'll be all over the country, but I'm not sure where we're recording. Probably in Austin because, I'm moseying that way.
Yeah, it's Austin's. We were on your mom's house platform I did a show called Doctor After Dark there for 4 years, 5 years, something like that. And so we spent a lot of time in Austin.
I love
so we know that town well.
It's great.
Yeah, so
and it's turning into something even more fun.
well, the center of gravity of comedy kind of moved down there.
That's probably the only reason I'm so interested in it. But it doesn't feel as exciting. Comedy doesn't feel as exciting in other places as it does in Austin
Exactly. Well, that's Joe. That's Joe and Tom and
amazing.
Christina and stuff. Yeah. And they have that big festival, the Moonlight Festival or something?
Moon Tower.
Moon Tower, yeah.
Which has always been good.
Oh my God, is that a great festival? So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Kent, Washington, just south of Seattle.
And so that's thus the Seahawk fan.
Oh, yeah. Seattle Mariners, Seattle Seahawks, and then rest in peace, my Sonics.
Did you go to school up there?
I went to school in Kent, Washington. Yep.
So you know McHale's from up there.
Yeah, I love Joel. Joel's great.
And he played football for Washington.
I don't know if Joel sold his soul or if he's aging in reverse or something, but when you look at how long he's been doing it, he was on Almost Live. I used to watch him.
Yeah.
But if me and Joel were hanging out at like the Grove or something, you go look at those two guys of the same age and probably went to school together. No, he's done everything. I used to watch him when I was young on Almost Live.
So it's funny to me because I have the same relationship with him that you have with him. In other words, he used to come on Loveline, and he said to us the early times he was on, early in his career, he goes, because I used to sit and watch and think to myself, if I could just get on this show, then I will have made it. Then I know I'm done.
That's great.
And he obviously went on way beyond that. So good for John. So he's in that new show about the animal, and so Susan's he's on a new show about an animal.
I didn't. Oh no, yeah, it's a sitcom where it's like, it's scripted. Yeah.
And it seems like the Community people are distributed all over NBC right now. So
he's so good at that single camera stuff too, and he's like such a good actor. And as TV is dying, he seems to still survive it.
He's doing great.
Yeah,
he's doing great, and I have nothing but kudos to Joel's. And the nicest guy in the world.
He's the best.
Truly the nicest
really
guy.
Good guy. Good dad, good husband.
Everything.
Yeah.
Just a great person. Another great comedic actor, I wanted you to think about Andrew Santino.
Yeah, I love it.
We just ran into him last week. And Andrew, I think, is quietly one of the best comedic actors I've ever seen. And for me,
interesting.
He just so quietly nails it every time he walks on a scene. I'm like, wow.
I think he's a genius, and he's being recognized in spades. So I think
it's starting to get there for him.
Yeah,
so, and are you doing more acting coming up?
I'm not interested in acting,
but you did reality spoofing. And
I love hosting.
Hosting, okay.
And I love I loved, like when I was younger, I loved like the prank stuff. I've always kind of just liked to be me. And that's not very good acting. When they're just like, this guy's just playing himself the whole time. So I think
that's the hardest thing in acting, don't you know?
That's a myth.
That is bullshit.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. But the people that do play themselves all the time in movies, it's because we like that person. So they put them as them person.
Exactly.
But I think that unless I just get to completely be me, I'm not that interested.
How did you get involved in the sort of prank stuff? How did you get interested in that?
I've always liked that type of humor.
But I want to know, is it Jamie Kennedy?
No,
is
it
farther?
Way farther?
Okay.
Back.
Is Candid Camera? Is
Jonathan Winters used to brag about all of his prank calls and things at a very young age. I don't know. I won't give my parents credit for it because they just weren't into that kind of stuff. But I think maybe a friend or somebody gave me like Jerky Boys.
Okay.
And I was obsessed with Jerky Boys.
Okay, so there it is.
And then my sister, who I had a lot of sisters, but one of my sisters that we were always bumping heads because we were closest in age. When we did bond on something, I felt like I've unlocked something. And so me and my sister, we would sit and put these cassette tapes in this machine, and we would kind of like just, come up with little characters we would do back and forth. She would always play kind of the straight man, not knowing even what that was. And I would always be this absurd kind of character saying inappropriate things or things our parents would think we'd get in trouble for. And then my sister, we would be making each other laugh. And then I'd be like, let me hear it. It'd always end with, let me hear it now. Cause I was like so excited by like, I'm being funny on here. And that's kind of the inception of me doing those kind
comedy.
of things.
There's always a
origin story in comedy. It's interesting.
Yeah, I have a few that are all related to stand-up or comedy.
Well, and also I've heard you talk about the sort of the deprivation of your family of origin. Now, I've not heard about a bunch of sisters. How many sisters were there?
So I technically only had 2 older sisters, 3 years apart, 3 years apart. But there was so many girls coming in and out of like the chapters of our lives that like I call this one woman Tabitha Hess, my sister, because she was really close with my sister Jen.
Got it.
And then there was another one, Bobby Joe, and she was like inseparable with my oldest sister Janice. And so I'd always be like, oh, my sister. So sometimes in my act, I sound like I have 5 sisters. Sometimes in my act, I sound like I have 2, which is the truth. I have 2 biological sisters. But then sometimes I say 1 sister because my oldest sister passed away.
Oh, what happened?
So then I also don't know how to like navigate. People say, how many sisters you got? And I don't want to bum them out. So then I just go, oh, I got 1, or I used to have 2. I don't ever know what to say.
What happened to the one?
Distracted driving, but
her or not somebody
both
else?
her and the people that crashed into her.
Oh boy,
yeah, very tricky.
Up north was in.
It was in Oregon. Yeah.
Was she an adult then?
Worst day of my life. Yeah, she was. It was in 2015. So
Oh my
she was
goodness.
probably 40.
Ooh, kids?
Yeah, just had her first baby that was like 1 year old.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very sad.
And that child doing okay now? Everything?
Yeah, he's awesome, and he gets a ton of love because of the circumstances, and so he gets a lot of attention. But I'm obsessed with that little boy. He's also the only boy.
Oh, which
so
is
that's
good.
so that's
Nothing
fun.
funnier than a sister being killed in a car accident.
Yeah,
That's,
a lot to work with. You know?
But the deprivation intrigued me because I think you were talking about it on Corolla's show, on Corolla's podcast, maybe.
I probably talk about Tiger Belly the most. But do you not listen to that, or
I don't know where I saw. I do listen to Tiger Belly. I don't know where I saw this, but it intrigued me. Maybe in my head I put Corolla in it because he also grew up in deprivation.
Oh, interesting.
And
I've never even heard this term, deprivation.
There's another word. Let me think of it. Sort of impoverished.
Okay.
Like an impoverished
Sure.
upbringing. Like there was not a lot of familial richness and ritual and emotion and stuff. Just sort of empty set.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Family that aren't parents that aren't into anything.
Right. So that's a thing.
It's impoverishment has many different flavors to it,
Right.
but I felt like yours and Adam's sounded very familiar
Yeah.
to me. And what's interesting to me, I mean, I see what it did to him. You came out very social,
Yeah.
like very like go. You wanted.
He didn't want to do anything. I want to do everything.
That's exactly what he got. But his was more on the sort of mechanical and all these other things. He wanted to race cars and do all these things. It feels like it's more social.
Yeah, my social motor is unmatched.
Yeah.
Like we could hang out. Like if you were like, let's you want to have smoked cigars? I'd be like, yeah. And then you'll try to leave after 4 hours. I'd be like, yeah, let's get dinner. You know. And then you'll be like, hey, I think we're good. You know. Like I just keep going.
Filling that void that they left
I
behind.
used to try to get my friends drunk just so they'd stay the night. I was like, just crash in the guest room. Like we'll get up, we'll get coffee, and everyone's like, what is wrong with you?
For those of you, let me look at the restream really quick. I'm sorry, guys. My restream didn't turn on. I can't help but get into people's stories, you know, and so we'll talk politics and stuff in a minute. Yeah, thanks, Molten Salt, pointing out that I'm old. Does the emptiness that they left you with affect you in your romantic relationships?
I mean, it has to, right?
Right.
But I don't.
But you're not aware
how
of it.
to. Yeah, I wouldn't know how to like communicate that. Like I'm not.
Well,
Positive.
because sometimes people go, well, I keep hooking up with, I keep finding, birds to fix, or I keep finding,
Sure.
or I become the one
no
that tracks
pattern.
that, or
Any bad pattern I have of dating has nothing to do with the parents.
Okay.
You know
It's
what I'm
just
saying?
you.
Like, I could
It's
blame
all
it on
you.
that. Yeah. Well, I'm like every other guy. I'm going, they're beautiful. What could go wrong? And then everything goes wrong, you know? So I look for none of the red flags. I look for none of the personality. I just go, gorgeous. I can have that.
well, there are theories that if you objectify too much, it's rage.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
actually a rage or it's underneath that. So
Really?
Yeah,
That's
so-
fascinating. I'm
but-
a pretty peaceful guy. I've
Well,
only raised my voice twice in my life.
It converts. In some,
I see.
Yeah, it's like you're not experiencing it. It's all way far away. Interesting. Yeah. So the way we came to know you most, though, was through Gutfeld.
Yeah.
Although I've seen you everywhere and all this other stuff, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like we were sharing a project with that one because
Absolutely.
I've been going on Gutfeld since he was on Red Eye, and for me, and I saw Greg's talent early and often, and I really enjoyed, and of course Kat and Tyrus. I was like, oh my god, these guys are geniuses of a certain type. And Kat has become a good friend, and she had her wedding at our house and stuff.
Oh,
And so
nice.
yeah, so
That's
they're all
really good friend.
we're close with all of them. And so I feel
None
like
of my friends are famous. If I named any of my friends, I'd be like, guess where I had my wedding? They'd be like, some guy named Brian.
Some guy in Kent. Some guy in,
Nobody. I don't have any.
some guy in the Puget Sound.
I think I'm doing it wrong. Everyone's hanging out with all these famous people, and
Well, you get sort of drawn into the mutual project. You know, as you're working on the same thing together. But I think I told you off the air that I had early said, I think this is a 5-day-a-week show, and it turned out to be such. And your stuff there, I look forward to all the time.
Oh, thanks.
It's really good.
Fun.
But I was surprised to see you on the show when you first got there
100%.
because there's a certain amount of risk going on the show, right? And for me, here, let me tell you my story really quick, and then you tell me yours. Mine was, I used to do all news, everything, just news. You have something to say, they needed some expert, I go on the news. Whether it was MSNBC or CNN, Today Show, The View, I did The View 100 times or whatever. And you just go on these shows and you speak. In fact,
good for the brand.
Jenny, if you forget, Jenny McCarthy was one of the View panel members.
I didn't know that.
And she asked me on for her birthday and a few other things. But anyway, over the years, I did these things a million times. And then all of a sudden, the Trump presidency happens and things like get weird. Yeah. Now, in there, my show on HLN, I was on CNN HLN every night, and my show got canceled. I made some comments on the radio that Breitbart misrepresented. It ended up freaking out CNN. I was no longer welcome on CNN. It wasn't even what I said. Right. It just freaked them out. So I thought, all right, well, I'll just do other shows. And all of a sudden, nothing. You can't say anything. And then COVID hit, and I urge caution with some of the excesses of COVID. Yeah. Lockdowns, masks, vaccines. Just kind of let's look at these things. How dare you? You want to kill people.
Yeah, I hate that stuff.
Fuck you. Okay. So all the way along, though, Greg always welcomed me in. And I thought, this is a great show. I love being a part of it. I'm going to kind of lean into that and be a part of Greg's thing. And then what happened somewhere about 6 or 7 years ago, all of a sudden it is, well, if you're on Fox at all, you can't do anything else. You're not allowed to do anything else. It's like, really?
Why? Yeah, no sense.
And I sort of, I pushed that away a little bit for a while. And in the last 4 months, I thought, oh, that's just the way it is. So if I want to do news, I'm going to have to do Hannity and Laura and all these other shows.
Yeah.
And just maybe get on Real America's Voice or there's all these other sort of.
It's changing though now. You feel like that?
Still kind of the same.
Still kind of the same, but you think it's going to start swinging back, right? I mean, do you feel that it will?
Everything's swinging in weird directions. I don't know what form it's going to take. Do you have a sense of it?
No, I don't. But the fact that Whitney Cummings feels safe enough to rear her head shows that it's swinging back.
Well, and I don't think she really
it's brave for her to come out now. She did it like in the 11th hour when everything's swinging back, similar to Mark Zuckerberg has now got a new haircut and is hanging out with Dana White. It's like, it's almost as if these people are going, oh, things are switch teams here. It's like, which is great, switch teams. I am happy about it.
Yes.
I'm just saying it doesn't feel as cowboyish as being brave enough to speak out when it's good to speak out.
There was no red pill on your cigar.
Right. That's my point. It's literally like going, well, yeah, now.
And by the way, was that from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Is that what that pose was from?
I don't know.
Or is that, we got to find out. Caleb, I think it's a deep
I'm gonna look it up.
cut.
Oh, good.
I do. What is it? He'll look.
He said it. Sorry.
But I want to defend both Whitney and Greg and Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg is just a businessman. He's doing what his business is expedient. He's responsible to his stockholders.
Sure.
And so to me, he's just doing what they do. I mean, for the fact that he caved to the government is reprehensible. It's disgusting. It is cowardly. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see him say something like that.
Yeah.
Like really express regret.
And be specific. Don't say, they were telling me.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Who did? I want to answer. I want to know because that is a crime.
I think it is.
Yes.
I think it's a crime against, and when you see things so clear, and by the way, so I'm going to defend Whitney a little bit. Yeah. I don't think Whitney really felt like this before. I think things got clearer. I think she was just, I don't think she had strong feelings one way or another. Now she's like, what the hell, what's the fuck's going on here?
In Whitney's defense, I am pro-comic, and I have always been in Whitney's corner, even when I was invisible to her. But Whitney is, she's a climber. She'll do whatever it takes for business,
Good for her.
Exactly. I'm not criticizing. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Okay, all right.
So if it's going to help her
Whitney,
relationship
I'm
with somebody,
I'm going to
she'll
get you and she in here together. That's what I'm going to do. That's my goal now.
Same team. But it's just like to then go, oh, there she goes. It's like, all right, there she goes.
Well, she
Pretty
did
safe.
to be her. She did it on CNN, and it is hard to do stuff there without them kicking you right off the air.
If that election goes the other way, she doesn't do any of that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
If that
true.
election, like, there's just none of the.
It's be hard for us to speak honestly.
Oh, for sure. But that's kind of what we were speaking to earlier. Like, before we started, we were talking about like the things I have in common with Alex Jones is that I'm not afraid to say it if I think it.
Well,
Now that gets me in trouble. Nothing makes you feel like more of a psychopath than just being 3 months ahead of the game.
well, that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
So you seem that you have a certain amount of clarity that's coming from something.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think you have such? It reminds me a little bit. Tyrus has that. Adam has this. Corolla has some kind of clarity. You guys are sensitive to. You sense stuff, and when that thing goes off in your head or your body, whatever it is, you know it, and you can rely on it, and so you can lean into it. Like Tyrus, as an example, early and often said, "This isn't going to be close." Stop.
Oh,
it.
interesting.
He was just like, "This isn't going to be close." I'm telling you, it's not going to be close. And Adam, he 20 years ago was saying things like, "The direction we're going is not. This isn't good. This is my mom was like this. This is a horrible way to go."
Yeah.
So, what is it for you that you can lean on that tells you where's that barometer or that weather vane or?
Don't know. I can't pinpoint it, but like I can smell bullshit better than other people for sure.
Okay.
And also, I'm a big Jordan Peterson guy.
Okay. From way back.
From around the same time he got popular. So during the pronoun issue, for a lack of better term, with the C Section 8 bill.
This was. So those of you who don't know where. Why is Nikki Glazer's name up there?
Oh,
you have an
my
issue
mistake.
with Nikki?
Sorry.
Oh.
No,
anyway.
sorry. I put Nikki Glaser up as
He's
an example
pro-Catholic.
of a comedian who's spoken the truth since the start. She was on our show in 2020, just spouting out truth and making fun of both sides.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's good because I've always been I feel like the comedians are sort of the rock star / poets of our time. And they disappointed me during some of them.
Yeah.
Disappointed me during COVID. I was where are they? What's
Right.
we need you, and they were quiet, and that was very disappointing. But they're back, and again, that's why I'm defending all of them.
I think Jordan Peterson really stuck out to me in the beginning because I needed a dad in a way, and I needed a lot of clarity. I needed someone to teach me to grow up. I think I banked on my whole career, my whole childhood was about like, what's good about growing up, and what's good about being serious, and what's good about learning, what's even good about being smart. I had an old album called Dumb is Gooder because the premise was every time I learn something, it just disappoints me. And the most smart people I've ever met in my life are all miserable and arguing, and so dumb is gooder. And I learned like through Jordan Peterson's work that like you got to grow up. You can't be an old baby, you can't be Peter Pan forever. And by growing up, it's like, or by, quote unquote growing up, I just dove into documentaries and books and reading and all these different things. And the more I learned, the more I go, everyone is such a pussy. Everyone is so afraid to be honest because a lot of good reasons. They've got all these good reasons to not be honest. You want to lose your house? You want to lose your job?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think that these people at CNN are as libby as they come off on camera. But is it worth losing the $4 million contract you have to sit on the desk and get makeup put on your face? Is it worth telling your wife and kids, oh, I was honest today, and now daddy doesn't work there anymore? So they have good reasons. But it just made me realize everyone's a pussy. Everyone's playing by some sort of game. They're all playing like, what's going to get me paid? And I've got no kids, no girlfriend, and no wife, and nothing to lose. And so I was like, I'm just going to be honest from here. And if that gets me in a ton of trouble, then that's just what a real man would do.
Amazing. So a lot packed into what you said there.
Yeah.
So I almost don't know where to start. So real man.
Yeah.
There's been a deficiency of men being men lately.
100%.
Yeah. And do you think millennials particularly had trouble with that?
Yes. And I think millennials have an opposite problem. They love an opposite. They've got obsessed with an opposite. So they love when a female punches hard and drives a big truck and does anything that isn't classified as female. They champion her on because it's an opposite, And if it's a
Is that
man,
from watching too many Transformer movies or something? What is that?
A contradiction. I think they love like if it's a big black bodyguard in front of the nightclub, but he's actually a teddy bear. He's actually a sweetheart. Or the serial killer looks like your neighbor. Wow, he didn't even look like. What does
Where
a
did
serial
that
killer look
come
like?
from?
They
That's
just
the
love
oddest
this
thing. That's
reverse.
fascinating.
Oh, a man who can cry and is in touch with his
Yes.
feelings. Like that doesn't fit in a box.
Yes.
So we must love it and we must champion it. But we get so lost in these opposites that you forget just what is. And so that is a strange thing young people do, which is weird.
It is weird. It's a new concept to me that's what you guys were doing, and I love it.
And I also think young people have been told, like it's okay to be different. It's okay to be these things. It's okay. And so then that not became okay. You must be something different. You must be.
Well, it's the only way to sort of
be opposite.
Gain power or recognition or something.
Yeah, 100%.
So Jordan Peterson, I came on to him. I was trying to look for a confluence of anthropology and psychology, and lo and behold, I found Jordan Peterson. This was 12 or 14 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And he had these podcasts, or they were almost little mini lectures called Maps of Meaning.
Yeah, I've read all those. Maps of Meaning is great.
But he had interviews with the Maps
Thousands of lectures. Yeah.
Right. I got onto those early.
Nice.
And so I thought, this guy's into something. And because a big part of his thing is what's right and what's wrong and knowing the difference. When they started mandating speech, it wasn't that it was pronouns, it was mandated speech.
He'll say it if it's polite. He's not going to say it if you force him to.
He was very tuned into the Gulag archipelagos and 1980
Dostoevsky, all that.
and all the previous historians that warned us against where this goes. And so he said, you must stop it here. And that's what everything blew up for him. And that's when you found him.
But when I got so deep into it, he has a reading list on his website. So those were the books I'm reading. And I'm going, oh my God, like this is some of the smartest work in the world, some of the most brilliant literature. It's all there. It's all there for us for free at libraries and on the internet. But you go to like Barnes and Noble, it's like you start seeing the conspiracy. You're like, oh, like you would think that Frida Kahlo freed the slaves or something. Like her book is just everything. People don't even know why it's in there.
Right.
They just go, but she's a woman. And so they encourage this. The bookstores are just full of like, a fat guy with a yarmulke's cookbook and like 12 queer ideas for, like, there's not even literature. You can't even find the literature in this thing.
There's a literature department.
Oh, it's wild. And so I was just reading all these books and reading all these things, and I basically had a mental breakdown. And then that is like literally kind of what got me
honest.
Yeah, honest.
Did you get depressed, or did you just mental breakdown? Was very broad.
Two things at once. But it was like a mental crack.
Did you get anxiety disorder or panic? Or
I was manic and treating it with alcohol and pills. Yeah. And a lot of mushrooms in between that.
Are you sure that shit didn't cause the mania?
Probably. I mean, I guarantee you. Yeah, but it was just too many. I lost a dog. I lost a woman I loved. I had the COVID, which made me...
A lot of bipolar mania these days from all the hallucinogens and cannabis and all this stuff. It's causing it. Make no mistake about it.
Well, but like socially, it was a lot for me.
I get it. There's got to be like to get it all kind of feeds together. But the fact that it went from just being severely depressed or hypomanic to mania, the drugs did that for you.
Well,
thank them.
Also like I was like, stand-up comedy is how I get heard. It's how I get attention. It's how I get money. And they took all that away. And then they said, and stay in your house.
Shit.
And when you're in your house.
So I hope you got angry. I want people to be angry at that.
It is.
Are you angry? Are you pissed?
I was furious about that.
I want millennials to be pissed. I want people to be pissed at what we did to them.
It was
what
too much. I literally was stuck in a house with guns and alcohol, and they're like, "Don't worry about your mental health. Just stay locked up and hide yourself. You also don't have a career. You also don't have your girlfriend anymore. You also don't have a dog. And on top of that, straight white males are pieces of trash, and there's people parading down your street who might break your windows for it." And I'm like, "That's too much at once."
Yeah. And imagine you were 14 and this was all that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right?
How you gonna like?
This is the part when they started doing this shit. Exactly, this is what I knew would happen to people. I was like, this is going to hurt people.
Yeah, and broke my brain in a lot of ways.
Fuck, you got to. I don't know how you feel about it. I won't tell you what to do, but you want to, I don't know, make a movie, a documentary, a book, or something where this is contextualized in what they did to young people.
I believe that. Yeah.
And now they're like, what's wrong with young people? Why can't they get their shit together? We did it.
You broke them.
You broke them. And and the way out, it seems to me, I'm going to add to my list with the inspiration of you. I've been saying they need to get pissed. You need to get honest and pissed.
Yeah.
And I think then you're in pretty good shape.
And we're gonna have to break down. They hate these systems. Everyone always talks about these systems. The systems. Well, the systems they taught people in are gonna have to be broke down. These new systems of how they teach things is eventually it's gonna have to be broke down. Like, framework.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
All right. I've got so much more I want to talk to you about, including I want to start next time when we're going to take a little break. When we get back, king of getting fucked on the internet. You said to me, I want to know what that means. And so give me my camera back and we will continue with Jeff Dye. Joel Pollak's going to stop by and report some more of the nonsense from the great republic, so-called, of California back after this. Wellness company knows that taking charge of your family's healthcare is a top priority and being rationally ready, and who knows what the future will hold for us. Now TWC has a service to cover your family's medical needs, including and especially prevention. For just $100 a month, the One Wellness Elite membership includes 2 free medical-grade nutraceuticals per month, free prescriptions for over 800 of the most common medications, access to concierge telemedicine, available at a moment's notice, and a 15% discount on all supplements and the emergency kits. 15% off the emergency kits. That's quite a saving. So if you're spending $100 or more on supplements and meds every month, this plan will already save you money. If you sign up for a year, you'll save $200. And when you use the link, drdrew.com/CWC, you'll get 10% off the first payment to the One Wellness Elite membership. Check out One Wellness at drdrew.com/TWC and get 10% off your first payment. drdrew.com/TWC. It's all there.
Dr. Drew said the best way to quit drinking is by going cold turkey, and he's a doctor, so why would you question doctors?
Dr. Drew called me unfixable.
And I think people are learning more about food quality these days and how it affects health and even wellness. Our partners at Paleo Valley have been an integral part of the journey for us. Along the way, we've discovered something else about our 2 favorite items, which are, as you know, the grass-fed finished beef bone broth made from real bones, not hide, and the meat sticks. They are so nutrient dense, impeccably sourced, essential to have in the event of emergencies. We were so glad to have Paleo Valley products during the fires. We were locked down here. Travel, stock in the pantry, or pack in your go bag. Listen, we have a friend who lost a house, lost everything, because when you're leaving the houses now in this part of the country, we are used to fires, and people were sort of leaving without everything, thinking it was just, I'll be back in a couple hours. People lost a lot, and I have a friend that I've known for 30 plus years who lost everything, and Paleo Valley very kindly sent her quietly, and I'm the one saying I want to talk about it, quietly sent her a huge box of bone broth and beet sticks to get through this tough time. I want you to go to support them at drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for first-time orders. Get 15% off. Subscriptions, you get 20% off. That's drdrew.com/Paleo Valley. You save money and be prepared to get nutrient-dense, low-calorie products that are really, really good for you and great for me in diet management. All right, Jeff Dye is here. Jeff Pollak's going to stop by. He ain't getting fucked on the internet.
Yeah, I was just saying that because you guys were discussing censorship and things.
So we have a YouTube event happening to us, but I'm going to have to bring Caleb in a second to tell what happened here. But what's your story?
Well, I think YouTube's also, my conspiracy against YouTube is they pretend to be virtuous. Oh, you can't bully or you can't say the word suicide or death. But then they still let the video live on their thing. You just can't monetize it. So they've put these hoops there just because those hoops are so get through that they don't have to pay you. If they really were moral and virtuous about it, they would just not let the video be up because they have some problem with those words.
A million ills, a million cuts have been perpetrated in the name of doing good. And as always, social evil is done in the name of good.
Yeah.
And they're doing evil by censoring.
They go, I get to keep the money. But so it's allowed to be up there as long as I don't get paid for it. It's just a weird kind of thing. But that happens to me all the time.
Yeah, not in our case. We just got
robots also hear the word trans or bully or something like that, and they just take the video down.
Caleb,
it happens to me on Instagram all the time. They took away my Facebook.
Wow, we've been down regulated on Facebook. We're going to try to get that back too. But Caleb, tell the story about YouTube and what your tale of woe there. What happened?
So basically what has happened is over the weekend, YouTube went and took down 2 of our most recent episodes just because they didn't like the content that Drew had on the show. We had a licensed physician on one of the episodes and an attorney on the other episode. And over the weekend, YouTube just took it down. They said it was medical misinformation. And so we actually went down through the timestamps that they specified. These are the parts that have misinformation on it, and responded to each of those points, like with Drew's medical understanding, and asked them, can we please speak to the physician over on your side who is censoring this licensed physician on the screen here, who's been practicing medicine for 40 years? It gets me mad. I get pissed about it whenever
physician Gavin Newsom, who's he's on Zoom with Joe Biden as people's houses on fire, going, "Can you help us? We're getting a lot of bad press." I can't believe that.
Yeah, there's a typhoon of misinformation.
Yeah, it was not misinformation. Also, do you remember when Republicans used to say fake news?
Yes.
Or Donald Trump would say fake news?
Yes.
And they're like, this is absurd.
Yes.
You can't say fake news.
Yes, it's disrespectful
now
to this.
That's all the left does. They go, that's not real. They'll literally show a news report of firefighters or reporters going, wait, just talk to firefighters and this fire hydrant's empty. But if you then go, why was a fire hydrant empty? They go, that is misinformation. Also, they started a new word just this week. Libs are using the term disinformation.
That's been around for a while.
They don't even want to use misinformation. Now it's disinformation.
Disinformation, I think, is like intentionally distorting things.
Oh, now they're
misinformation.
Accusing you of doing a bad thing with it.
Yeah. Oh, it's fucked. But go ahead, Caleb. So finish up the story here. How we ended up with 8 million views.
Yeah, so Drew posted over the weekend about what happened. YouTube creators accused him of spreading medical misinformation and took down 2 videos that had a medical doctor and a lawyer.
Hysterical.
Drew's been board certified for 40 years, so that's double how long YouTube has even existed, is how long Drew has been a physician.
And by the way, it was Kelly. Kelly Victory she's a disaster specialist. She's an ER, consummate ER doctor. And there it's removed. You see it now. So
and
there it is.
YouTube did not know who they were messing with. And they, I guess, forgot that they've done this to us 2 other times before. And we've made peace with them both of the other times. I called them up on the phone. I had phone conferences with them. Drew had a conference with them. They said they had to fix their system. And we were like, you have billions of hours of content. Of course, you're going to make some mistakes. They did it again. So we joined Rumble. Then they just did it again this weekend, and they got what was coming to them because this post now has over 7.8 million views. Elon Musk is on it. It was a trending topic all day.
We're also on X, though. Make sure you mention X.
We love X. We love Rumble. Those are the 2 platforms that have defended us this whole
Facebook,
time.
we would like to come back to.
We're on Facebook, but
if anyone,
we've been shadow banned over there. But
if you want to know the exact things,
call these guys. If you get them on the horn, what you should start with is, what if I told you Dr. Drew is a Democrat? What if I told you that?
So tell him I'm a socialist.
He's back. He's back.
I'm a socialist. Not just Democrat. I'm a socialist.
Yeah, so you're a Marxist, and they'll put you at the top of the page.
But if you want to go see the exact stuff, because Drew confront each of the points that because they give you timestamps now. So we went to those exact timestamps and showed this is what you're saying is inaccurate. Like the 2 people on this screen right now, they're both physicians. These are licensed. No one over on YouTube's side is a licensed medical doctor that has any sort of qualifications.
We have board certification. We have
no
teaching
idea
positions. All these things. We're fellowships. We have all this stuff. And it's just, and the comedy is, I didn't agree with what they were saying in both cases. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think that's true, but you'd be welcome to say it here.
Which is the difference between, so I used to work at MTV. Yeah. I had a podcast on ESPN with Russell Wilson for a very, quick thing. And
that must have been so fun.
I liked it. I had a good time. And Russell was wildly unprofessional and just ghosted us.
Oh, no.
ESPN was like, we can't get a hold of Russ. And I was like, well, I can't get a hold of him either. And then he hasn't spoke to me since. But one thing that I found strange.
Well, he left the Seahawks. So.
I was just insane. I was going, I thought we had a thing going here. It just doesn't it didn't just hurt my feelings personally, but it's also pretty unprofessional. Oh, wow. So what I was going to say was for example, I made a joke to Candace Parker in one of the episodes. Basically implying that I didn't know the difference between her and Candace Owens. But I love Candace Owens. And the joke was, I had these note cards, all right, Candace, I'm excited to talk to you. First question, what's your problem? And then they both kind of looked at me like, oh, I'm sorry, that was for Candace Owens. And I threw it behind my head. So I kind of sold out my politics to make a silly joke towards Candace Parker. So then there was this long phone call with ESPN like, hey, man, we don't do politics on this show. That joke was like a little risky. We don't do politics. Russ doesn't want to touch politics. You know, here at ESPN, we don't do politics. So I go, okay. I took my little, tongue lashing. And then the next episode, we talked for over 2 hours with Chris Paul, the race baiter, about Black Lives Matter. But we don't do politics? This is the most political episode I've ever been a part of in my life. So basically what I got from that is like, no, we don't do your politics. We will decide the politics you will say. Now, when I go to Gutfeld, which just circling back, they let me say anything.
Anything.
I'm allowed to go out and if I wanted to. I don't know what world I would, but if I wanted to defend Hillary Clinton, or if I wanted to make a good point that was like, hey, guys,
I have done stuff like that before. They're fine with it.
I don't think Joe Biden I think he's getting into. Whenever I would do that, I'm allowed to.
Yep.
They might tease me and whatever.
They will tease you.
I'm fully allowed to say it.
Yep. 100%.
That's the freedom of saying it.
Yep.
Not the producers going, we don't.
No.
You can't say that. That's like, what is freedom of speech? Definitely on this side. I've experienced it more than that side.
Yeah, well, there's a movement in this country that believes freedom of speech is, and this is in Europe in spades, that it's dangerous and it's something that
hate speech.
It's the oddest
thing. Or like you've made someone feel a thing with your words. Like that's all nonsense.
It is.
Yeah.
But if you had said that a year ago, you would have gotten endless shit for it.
Oh, I've gotten tons of crap for saying it. I actually defend people's right.
Look at that. Put that up
trans.
again. Put that up again. That is, I remember that essay was crazy when I saw it. It's insane.
Well, I defend people's right. Like when I see a trans person, I go, USA, baby.
Yeah.
The fact that person is allowed to be like that, I love this country. I love this country.
Good for them.
Now, the guy that goes, look at this dumb 6'4" bearded bitch, I defend that guy. That's his right to also do that. I think racism and sexism is deplorable, but it's not against the law. You can be whatever you'd like to be in our country.
But people would then go, well, you two are on a platform. It's not the government. It's run by YouTube, which is a private business. It's like, yes, of course. But the ethical social standing of the conceit of free speech should be in every American soul.
100%.
And it should, of course, be ensconced in the law. But it should be defended in all aspects of our life.
Absolutely.
And that's where people seem to miss, that when it gets infringed upon, particularly when private businesses are being muscled by the government, that's how it goes goofy, everybody. That's how it goes sideways. Read your history. Did Peterson have any history books in the mix there?
History. Yeah, because I mean, like I see history repeating itself all the time. I used to hear that cliche.
I thought it was over. I thought we got mass formation and that all that nonsense. I thought, well, that happened 20th century in such a high scale. It's like, we're not going to do that again. Did it again. Here we are.
People self-segregating.
Here we are. Yeah.
They're going, oh, well, I only hang out with black people, or I only hang out with Asians, or I only hang out with this religion, or I only hang out with this political party. It's slowly segregating itself into what will be, it's not even a melting pot, it's just a bunch of pots.
Well, she got a history degree from UCLA. I'm pointing at my wife, Susan. And at the commencement speech, the professor got up and said, and excoriated the melting pot model and said there must be all separate, everything separate.
That's insane.
And that it is sort of anti-xenophobic, essentially, to want a melting pot.
That's crazy to me. And he said that with conviction.
And what was that, Susan? 1992? Think about that.
Yes, 1991.
1991, she graduated college.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All those things are like, but I see history repeating itself even in like weird small ways. Like, remember cigarettes were like, at the beginning, it was like everyone cool smoked cigarettes. And then they were like, even physicians were going, oh, it's actually good for your nerves. It calms your nerves, don't go crazy, but we think this is probably fine. It helps. And then it was like, all right, this is killing people. Maybe we should put some Surgeon General. Well, then it became government, like make sure they know that it'll kill. And then vapes came out by the same men who were selling cigarettes, the same companies, the same family names.
Well, they do it with food.
And they sell
food
it to kids.
Too.
They did it with everything. It's like once you start seeing that, you go, oh man, this is tougher than we thought. It's worse than we thought.
Well, it's all just playing on our biology in terms of what we respond to in terms of persuasion, hypnosis, commercials, and addictions. Our appetites. We are easily taken advantage of, and there needs to be some. I don't want government to tell us what to eat necessarily. When Bloomberg tried to do that in New York, I was very against it. Remember, he put do you remember this whole part?
I don't know about this
he put calorie counts on everything, and he was trying to outlaw sodas.
Oh, really?
in New York City. And I was like, no. There's got to be a better way to. We got to be much more realistic about human motivation.
Yeah.
And what carrots and stick you can put in place to get us to do what's better.
Yeah, I wish we would make it more cool socially. I don't know about government wise, but we should make it more cool to be good. Like it should be.
Well, there was a thing that did that. They called it religion, I think.
I know, yeah, that's
the church or something. I about 8 years ago said, I think we need a great awakening in this country. We need something spiritual, something.
I agree.
I don't want to prescribe what it is, but it's something is needed.
When you start having a diet, my buddy this morning, he's at coffee. He doesn't want to eat this lemon loaf, and everyone was like, just have it. Oh my God. Why? Like, oh, your stupid diet, and even he seceded, like, all right, next month I'll crush that, but this month I have to be good. It's like, we're so fine with bad behavior. We've just accepted it. We're just like,
well, again, where does your moral compass come from? Where does yours come from? And you have a lot of clarity. It seems to me you have a lot of clarity.
I want to be a good boy.
Is it because
I want to be?
It's because you went through a little crucible of shit.
I don't know. I just think it's better to be like when.
Have you always been this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think when I drank forever, and drinking's so fun, and alcohol is great. There's so many positives of alcohol. But then I was like, once I got clean and my life started coming together and my relationships were better and I wasn't making decisions that I would later regret or later hold myself hostage emotionally for, I was like, oh, why isn't this encouraged? Why are we making sobriety cool? This is a really good thing to have your shit together. It's a very positive thing to, why is it so cool to drink? Why is it so cool to smoke pot and do mushrooms and all this stuff? Why is that so popular? Which it should be, because those are good. There's good things about it. But why can't also making the right choices be popular?
Well, and again, I worked in this field for a long time. And so I'm very interested in all those sort of aspects of sobriety.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable talking about it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
When you say sobriety, what is that for you?
I don't do anything.
You have a program?
That's not true. How do you not do anything? I mean,
you have a program, or you just?
I do AA once a week. Okay. Yeah, and that's become like a little community, like a little church.
Of course,
that's the positive of
sponsor steps. Yep. Yeah, and do you? Has that been your spiritual zone?
No, I've always been a Jesus guy. My whole life.
Always been spiritual.
Yeah. My parents were agnostic, so I took to it because it was
anything
almost like
they
rebellion.
were.
It was almost like rebellion to find Jesus,
And, so I have always looked at, mutual aid 12-step as a model for what should be going on.
Really
it doesn't have to be called that. It can be called anything you want.
Yeah.
But the process of that, and it's interesting that honesty is at the forefront for you, because that is the key ingredient in maintaining sobriety.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
When you're drinking, you tend to deny and minimize and do all kinds of stuff.
I lied for a long time. I was a liar for a big part of my life, which actually helps with jokes. It helps in comedy. It helps with girls. It helps you, it's a great shortcut lying.
Mm-hmm.
You learn early, I could just manipulate these words and then I get a thing,
Mm-hmm.
you learn it so young. Mm-hmm. But then I read a book by Sam Harris, in 2000, probably I only know it was before 2015, but I'm not sure how much before. But the book's just called Lying. And it's so simple that there's not a single lie that will benefit you more than the truth in the long term. And the book is it basically opens it up to people give me a scenario you think where lying would be better. And they're like, how about if a murderer's chasing a kid and then the kid runs into your house and you close the door and then the murderer's at the door going, hey, is that kid in there? Is it okay to lie then? He goes, no, because if you say the kid isn't here, now you've sent a murderer to your neighbor's house. So what would be better is you don't have to give information, but just be honest. I wouldn't tell you if there was a kid in here, and if you keep banging on my door, I'm going to shoot you. Or I've already called the police, get lost. Those aren't lies, that's truth. But there's never a lie is never better. Yeah. A lie is never better than the truth.
Yeah, and it pulls you in a certain direction that you're now compensating for.
Oh, yeah. And people can count on me. They go, that guy's always honest with me. He said my script sucked. You know, he just
He said, "I'm an asshole."
Yeah, he just said, yeah. Oh man, you know how many girls have turned around with that? Like I've said, like I find you socially repulsive. You have only been a brat tonight. You were demanding people around, and you are beautiful. And I earlier would have loved to have gotten to know you, but you're socially repulsive. And then watch, they turn it around. They'll be like, hey, you know, I was just drunk, I think, or I was nervous, or, you know, hey, I have anxiety. And they turn it around.
But it's back to something that I never thought I'd be talking about at this stage of my life. But you talked about being a man, but really what's under that is courage. Mm-hmm. And this is a moment for courage in this country, it feels like. I've been saying that for a while.
Much, yeah.
It is, I see it lighting up all over the place.
That's good.
And it takes courage to be honest. It takes courage to talk about these topics and take whatever YouTube does to me and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was very, back when Susan set this thing up in the dark hours of COVID, that was sort of the conceit, was we're the kind of the French underground. Mm. And guess what? The French underground required a lot of courage.
Yeah, 100%.
Those guys got consequences. And my consequences were nowhere near as lofty, but it still took a bit of
the good thing about being
well, it didn't even feel like courage at the time. It just felt like doing what was right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how it should start. And then you can also learn from it.
Yes.
You know, you can go, oh, I might have been wrong on that. Or like, oh, I thought one thing on that thing and it wasn't true necessarily. But like by being courage, you can learn that. That's the beauty of trying to have the conflict.
Yep.
Because with the conflict comes some resolution.
Yep.
And one of two things are happening. Either you get to be right, which feels good, or you get to learn, which is just as good.
So I at some point I want to circle back to the books, and I'll just say it while I'm thinking of it right now. It's like if you read Dostoevsky or Tolstoy, you've got it all. It's all there.
And also
it's all there.
Up, man. It's depressing.
Oh.
Like I sat there and cried. I never thought I'd cry listening to a book.
Which one?
I'm trying to think of the
Brothers Karamazov or something.
No.
Ivan Illich.
Yeah.
That's rough.
And it's you just sitting there going, oh no.
That's how. But that was a
feeling sorry for myself because some female comics are mean to me. And
but that's how humans died. That was how they died in the old days.
And our history has been brutal.
Yep.
And that's not America, Earth.
Yep. So I want to go to the fires a little bit here because Joe Pollak will be in a minute. And I was, Susan, I want you to listen to this too. I listened to a lot of, I was trying to get my French language perfected. And so I listened to a lot of French media. And there's a French radio outlet I listen to almost every day that is a of a talk radio, a little right-leaning talk radio, which in France is odd.
Yeah.
And so I got intrigued by it. And I heard them today telling the story of Adam Carolla applying for be a fireman. I was
all the way over there.
I was like, oh my God. I kept listening to hear my story came on about YouTube. I think tomorrow they may be talking about this YouTube story because they're clearly watching us over here.
Yeah.
And do you know Adam's story?
Yeah, 7 years to just basically be able to apply, and then a young lady behind him
in line
applied Wednesday.
Yeah, he told me that story 20 years ago. Yeah. This is not like a new story. 20 years ago, I heard that story. Maybe 30 years ago. And now it has more meaning in the light, in the shadows of what have happened here. What is your take on what went on here in Southern California during the fires?
I have no prediction of what happened.
You don't tell me what happened. What was your takeaway? Did you have any kind of experience? I took some things away.
I thought that every politician, every man, every woman has a great opportunity when things go wrong to say, hey, we're doing our best. We screwed up. Or here's something we could have done different. Or, we're with you.
I agree.
Not defending what we can very clearly see were missteps or mismanagement or these things. The internet lives. The internet is a living thing. We can go back and watch when you were criticized or when you were whatever, or things you've said. There's a record of it.
It's unbelievable that the politicians behave as though they never said anything on a microphone or there's no way people could find these things.
They have YouTube interviews.
We find them like that now.
Yeah, and we've got plenty of time while we're homeless at some weird friend's house. So what is curious to me is like, what a great opportunity to just sit, like when Trump was during the debates and they brought up the Brooklyn 5 or the Brooklyn 7 or whatever that was. The only reason we know about that, by the way, we're not that smart. We saw it on a Netflix documentary. And like all Trump had known at that point with the Brooklyn gentlemen, is that they had admitted to beating up and raping a woman. And so Donald Trump was like, I would have killed him. I would have given, because all he knows at that time is that they admitted to a crime that's so heinous that he wanted people to like him. And he said, I would have done this. Now we're going years back and saying, you said you would have killed those boys. That was a great opportunity for Trump that he missed, where he said, I was wrong. I didn't even know the information. I only had the information you guys had. And I said what I thought was right for that moment. And turns out in hindsight, now that we have all this new information, I was wrong.
I think we're going to see he has trouble with stuff like that.
Yeah.
He has real trouble adjusting course.
Yeah.
I agree. Listen, Karen Bass. I said, I know exactly what I would have said. You know what? I took my eye off the ball. I should never have left town. It was a big mistake. It will never happen again. This whole situation is as catastrophic as you think it was, and it will never happen again.
That's all you need.
That's it.
And say, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And let's try to figure this out. And then later we can talk about where I screwed up.
Yep.
But she just ignored people while they're talking to her right by her face. She's not on a headset. She's not looking at her phone. She's just like a political robot staring off into space while people are like, Miss Bass. And she's just staring there. Yeah. Like some weird.
It's like she's dissociating or something.
To me, it
looked like I can't read her mind, but my fantasy was that she's like, I'm the cool kid. I'm the good guy.
I know.
I went to Africa. You should like me. I'm doing good things. Like that. Thank God that seems to be over.
Right.
That bullshit that people can hide behind. That has got, I've been saying this for about 7 years. You must govern. Yeah. We need governing. Roads don't work. And by the way, here's the interesting thing about the fires. You don't hear complaints about Pasadena, right? We had a huge disaster here. Yeah. You don't hear complaints because this is the video of her looking at the ground.
Oh yeah, while they're literally asking her questions.
So you didn't see this, Susan? You didn't see this video? Yeah.
And she only internalizes that as they're being mean to me because my genitals and race. That's the most crazy part of all of like what's happened in the last 20 years is that no one can just be an asshole. They must have been an asshole to you because you're Jewish or because you're black or because you're a woman. Like it makes you then go, well, what are we even doing then?
Yeah.
Like why put anyone in these positions? Like, why have female refs if every time the NBA player yells at the female ref, she's going to go, it's because I'm a girl. Like, it just makes you want to go, forget all of it.
It does. Yeah. And I'm grateful for the progress we have made. It seems like we've had some good things happen as a result of these efforts, but they have also just done horrible damage at the same time. And not because of anything other than taking their eye off the ball of being a governing when people need government. Speaking of government, Joel Pollak is here. Let me give Joel's particulars.
Jared.
Hold on. It says Jared, but it's Joel Pollak here.
Joel Pollak.
Senior editor at large and in-house counsel at Breitbart. He's from South Africa, educated at Harvard. Multiple degrees, law, and you can follow him, Joel Pollak, on X. There he is, outdoors, everybody in the fire zone. And by the way, Jeff Dye is, of course, Jeff Dye, DYE, on X as well. Joel, thanks for stopping by. We were just talking about the shortcomings of our government and how, in particular, can you hear me okay, first of all? Oh, I don't think he hears me. That's a problem.
Joel, can you hear us now?
Okay, hold on a second. Well,
yes, I got you now.
Okay, good. So we were talking I know you're in the fire zone there, I can tell, that one of the things that's jumped out at me was you don't hear a lot of complaints about Pasadena because in this town, we're like a separate country and things kind of function here. This was an act of God. Everyone understands that there was only so much could be done, but what they did well. And then what happened on the other side of town was exactly the opposite.
Well, which was which? I don't know. Where did they do well?
Pasadena, we had fire, we had water pressure, we had a great fire department, the police did their job. I mean, it didn't stop anything because this was an act of God. This was an act of nature that really couldn't. I mean, I'm sure they did a little bit because all we had was water. You couldn't do the airdrops because the wind was too high and things. But out in California, all you got out in the West was just defensiveness and it's not our problem. And would you tell me what your thoughts are?
Well, I don't know enough about the fire in Pasadena to say, but what I do know is that here in Palisades, where I'm standing about a half mile down the road, was a massive traffic jam and people could not evacuate. There were not enough police officers directing traffic safely so people could leave. And so they simply left their cars at the side of the road, which made it harder to evacuate. And eventually the fire department had to bulldoze the cars out of the way. and people were panicking because smoke was coming to the vehicles. And then in the hydrants, there was barely any pressure. I did see a few hydrants that had pressure during the fire, but they tended to be in certain areas, often lower down, where the water, I guess, that wasn't being used higher up was able to settle further down. And the evacuation notice came rather late in the game. My wife and I packed up our house in about 15 minutes. When we saw the fire coming, we were already on the road before the evacuation notice came. So it's a real problem. It's created a lot of questions for city authorities. Firefighters and police are certainly doing the best they can, but what I've heard when I've talked to police officers and firefighters is that they did not have support from above. They could not pre-deploy ahead of the storm because they did not have a city leadership that had a budget for overtime. So rather than pay a few $1 million in overtime, you've now got billions of dollars in damage behind me. And yeah, I wasn't aware that it was so different in Pasadena because we've been so focused on the problems here. But you're right. The city of Los Angeles did a terrible job. The governor came here and said, well, locals will figure it out when it comes to the water. Let me tell you how we figured it out at my house. When I came in as a journalist to cover the fire, I stopped by my house to see if it was still there. And the street was on fire on two sides of me. And I went to my house and it was still standing and there's no water. So I had to pick up a bucket and dip it into the gutter and throw water on the fire on my fence, on my neighbor's fence, and my neighbor's tree, and outside my fence. And together with a couple of guys who just happened to drive up, we managed to put it out. But I've had to go back several times and put out little spot fires around the property and neighbors' homes. That's how we figured it out. We found water in the gutter. That was the state of California's solution to our water problem.
It is such an indictment of the lack of governance. The mayor's in Africa. She doesn't understand what's going on. It's not her fault. The governor is focused on everything. $50 million to Trump-proof the state, millions of dollars for sanctuary, billions for sanctuary cities and homeless that goes nowhere, tens of billions for trains that go nowhere. This is total breakdown of governance. And by the way, one of the questions I have is one of the reasons that people couldn't get out of your region was the so-called effing road diets that we've been on, where they put bike lanes into everything and they reduced the number of streets and they narrow the streets out in the West Side where they can't be used anymore by cars in an attempt to force us out of our cars.
It's crazy.
Guess what? They did it in the middle of a fire. Well done.
Yeah, that's wild.
Joel?
Well, we don't have bike lanes here, but we do have a road problem, and I'll explain it to you. Behind me, you probably see a hill, and then even further behind, out of view, is a neighborhood called the Highlands. The Highlands is a very beautiful neighborhood. It's got some large housing complexes, so it's middle-class housing, not just wealthy people live up there. And I took my mom up there a week ago before the fire, and she said, "This is very nice. Why didn't you guys move up here?" And I said, because it only has one road in and one road out. And I will never live in a place that has one road in and one road out, because what if there's a fire? Literally 2 days later, that's exactly what happened. But they won't build additional roads to create access to these communities or to give people an exit. And that's got to change in the future. We cannot have communities that only have one entry and exit point, because it's a really dangerous situation when there's an emergency.
So what's going to happen to get governing individual? I mean, we got to hold the city council. The county board of supervisors sort of did okay, but these are all people that have had their eye off governing. How do we get people to govern this state, this county, this city again? What measures should people be looking at or participating in to get things going?
So before I give you what I think the answer is, and it's actually a familiar answer to you because you have suggested getting FEMA into Los Angeles to deal with the homeless problem, I'm going to give you a similar answer. But before I do, I want to just note that the city has a real revenue problem, and it had to cut budgets last year. That's why they cut the fire budget. And they're going to have to cut even more because they're making the city unlivable for people who pay taxes. You can't do that and still maintain budgets to run all of the departments that have to make a city livable for the people who live here, rich and poor. So there's not going to be enough money in the city alone to do what needs to be done. And what I think should be done is that President Trump, when he takes office next week, should immediately appoint a California czar, and he should invoke whatever federal authority he has, whether it's the Stafford Act or whatever other act, to essentially take over key government functions in California and redesign the state. Because California's formula does not work. You cannot have high taxes and no law enforcement. You can't have maximum welfare benefits for illegal aliens or undocumented immigrants, whatever, and at the same time have better schools, better fire services. It doesn't work. The money doesn't grow on trees here, even though there's a grapefruit tree near me that's fruit survived. The fruit survived the fire. It's kind of incredible. But
Weird.
We have lots of beautiful things that grow on trees. Money's not one of them. And we have to have basically a federal intervention to reorganize California with the help of helpful people in California. We want California to govern itself, but we want an intervention, and we need one from the federal government under the Trump administration to rebuild. Trump is a builder. This needs rebuilding. You need someone who knows how to cut through the red tape and get this done.
Yeah. And why can't that red tape be taken away for good? The CEQA and all that nonsense. It's got to stop for a while, and we have to just do what needs to be done in terms of forestry management, in terms of rebuilding, in terms of just doing what's good for people. It's so ridiculous that no one gets treated worse than the citizens, particularly the tax-paying citizens, in the state. It's the weirdest thing. But anyway, Joel, appreciate it. I wonder, one last thought, do you think there'd be any benefit in sort of privatizing some of FEMA's efforts?
Well, you certainly would think so after driving around here. I was told by a firefighter today, a public firefighter, that there are 15 private firefighting companies in the Palisades right now. And most of them are employed by insurance companies protecting high value property that they cover here. But Rick Caruso, who ran for mayor in 2022, protected his village mall, which is the center of the community here, with a private firefighting company. And they're very secretive about it. They don't want to talk to me. They're private, and they don't have to talk to me, but you can see the result. The mall has survived. Everything around it was destroyed. So there is certainly going to be renewed interest in privatizing some of these services.
Joel, thank you for being here. I'm glad your house is still standing. Yes, you've saved it?
Yes, I saved it with the help of some neighbors. It's about 400 yards over to my right, to your left as you sit looking at me, and it is still standing with some smoke damage, but we can't live in it until it's safe to come back here. And it's very hard. It's very hard for my kids. And we keep expecting to wake up from this nightmare. And yet we're the lucky ones. But there are challenges even for people whose homes survived.
I understand. Well, if anything we can do to help you, please reach out. Joel, we appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much for what you do, Dr. Drew.
All right, man. Take care. Caleb, can you look for the video of the woman in the Palisades who runs after Governor Newsom and asks him why there were no water in the...
I don't know if we had water in Altadena either because the pumps were...
Hey, can you guys hear me?
No, that was all Palisades.
Can you guys still hear me?
Who is that now?
That woman is my neighbor. That woman is my neighbor.
Well, is she? And what's her last name? Like Pollak or something? What is it?
I can look it up. Let me see on the phone here. Hold on one second.
But it's such an incredible interaction.
I'm literally on the phone with the president.
Which he was not.
She goes, let me see. I said, what, does he not know how literally works? That's literally, you don't know what the word literally means.
And she's an attorney. She's actually an attorney, but you get a sense of how desperate her interaction is with him.
Let me talk to the president. He goes, oh, well, I'm trying to get through to him. I mean,
no, he goes, I have no cell service.
Yeah. But a second ago you said you were literally on the phone with him. So what do you, it's just so politician-y. He's trying to slick back his gel hair and get a Starbucks.
Her name is Rachel Darvish.
That's it, Rachel Darvish. Thank you, Joel. Appreciate it. She seemed like a lovely lady, but Adam was making fun of her today a little bit.
Too. I mean, she was asking all the right questions.
Well, but here's the thing. Caleb, if you could play the thing, she says something, I think it's just because she was so desperate. She says something that was really kind of high comedy.
Yeah.
Is it something we can play?
I'll see you guys. Thanks so much.
School, Governor, please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president to specifically answer the question of what.
We can't play too much of this, I guess, right? Well, she goes, why is there no water in the fire hydrants? And he goes, well, I'm looking at it. She goes, I'll put the water in.
I'll do it.
And he goes, will you do it? Will you put the water in the hydrants? And Adam goes, it's like she thinks it's like a coffee maker or something. You more water into it.
It did feel strange too. Like,
I think she was just desperate out of her mind.
Like, why can I hear you? It's like, well, what? Why would you? I don't understand. Who's filming her too? That's another part that's confusing.
Multiplied. Being criticised by some for water mismanagement as hydrants ran dry while fires multiplied.
Oh, it's okay. Let's leave it be. Leave it be.
We're going to get a strike on YouTube.
Yeah, it's all right. It's enough. I don't want more strikes. So there we are. That's the craziness of our state. It's the patheticness of everything that's going on here. I kind of feel like California is worth fighting for. I've sort of stayed here because it's such a wonderful place.
My special is called The Last Cowboy in LA. I don't think it's heroic to leave. I don't think you go, oh, I don't like so-and-so was voted. I'm moving to Spain. Wow, how brave. You're just going to leave the whole city. Now you can't vote?
But I understand the desperation. You know, we have lots of fans in Florida and stuff that they're thriving and they don't have to deal with this shit.
Well, they have hurricanes.
Some things are worth fighting for, though, right? I mean,
I think I've a couple times thought to myself it was, and then found myself going, I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's too much. It's not gonna get better.
The thing about the hurricanes, though, is they know how to clean it up right away. Like they're so experienced,
that is DeSantis.
The government,
DeSantis built a bridge that was supposed to take 5 years to build in like 3 months or something.
Yeah,
because he said he went in. What's going to take? Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And he did.
The other thing is too, like, let's talk about how great Elon Musk has been through this entire thing. The only reason we're getting coverage and things is because of Starlink. Tons of his money was going towards like helping. He was with the fire department. He was doing these things, donating all these things, loading armies of Cybertrucks full of materials. And yet these morons that I live by in Los Angeles are going, Elon Musk is, and you're like, you have no idea how the world works. You just picked a team and hate whoever isn't on your team.
Yeah, and I'm not really on any team. And I was reading this book called I've referenced it a number of times now. It's called The True Believer. You might check it out. It's kind of interesting.
Believer.
Just observations about these mass formations and who gets sucked into them and why. And he said, in that book, he says, the opposite of the fanatic believer is not the other extreme. So the opposite of a woke person is not a very conservative person. It's the moderate. It's the ones who sees the ones on both sides that are extreme and is in the middle going, all you guys need to calm down.
People think they're the moderates. Everybody goes, I'm really reasonable. And then you start to learn like, they're not really that reasonable. Like I've noticed a very balanced circular kind of thing with just the way the universe works of like, you start out trying to be anti-sexism. You want so hard for things to not be sexist that then when you learn your history and you do the homework, you start to hate men. Because you go, I hate sexism so much and I might fight sexism so much that I hate men. But then now you are the sexist towards men because it's this perfect, and same thing with race. You go, I want to learn about this. I need to figure out what's going on. But then you become the racist who hates the white man and who hates it. So it's this weird kind of circular balance.
It is, if you let hatred and objectification of people or greed or envy's been alive and well for the last few years. If you let that stuff creep in, it doesn't go well. Yeah. It always ends in bad places for humans. And who's the philosopher? Somebody's gonna have to help me. That essentially he did an analysis of the French Revolution in the early 19th century, and he just said things are the way they are because there's a reason the way they are. They can be changed and morphed and moved and improved upon, but you don't want to destroy. You don't want to end policing, which is really where that was going during BLM. It was like, we're going to end policing. We're going to reimagine policing. It's like, no, there's a reason people need certain kinds of containment. There's certain things. Well, listen, before we wrap up, books. What's that?
Was that Voltaire?
Jeff? I mean,
Descartes.
No, Voltaire is actually the one that said, I may hate what a man says, but I'm willing to fight, for his right to say it. Voltaire is one of the first one to say that. No, this is way after Voltaire. Like,
there are a lot
British
of French
guy. He's like
philosophers. British. Okay.
No, he's not French. He's not French. He's British.
I'm going to look if I see it on the ramp.
And what about Colson Aviation? We all need to cheer for them.
Yes, they were our
the
friends.
fleet of all the helicopters and planes that came over. And
they're friends of ours, and
dropped
they're
the
from
water.
British Columbia.
Well, I gotta say, the first responders have been amazing. All the people that are helping are amazing. Like my local neighbors have been like very great about how everyone wants to help.
Yes.
And
This is
also-
a government problem, not a fire department problem.
That's right.
Not a police problem, not a first responder problem. This
Yes.
is the top dogs could have avoided this or
And-
could have made
and
it a
why
lot
do we
Look at
less.
have
this. Look at this.
fleets
These are our
of
friends.
aircraft
Amazing.
that do that. Like they come from Canada and they rent them from Canada.
No,
and a shout out to the wellness company because their family owns that company. But it just brought such peace of mind, and it just the feeling of being protected by something was just so overwhelming. I mean, Jeff said when he came in today that he feels bad when one person loses their home. I feel like that too. It's just so overwhelming just to know that all these people are displaced and their families can't, their kids can't go to school, their families can't go to dinner. It's a lot.
And also you might say, well, this is an act of God. That's really like giving an excuse to like the things. It's like, we know it's a fire area. We've known it's a fire area.
And the brush was high.
It's not
so
up
much
to
rain.
me and Dr. Drew to know how to fix that. That we just live our lives. There are committees with people who get paid tons of money
Government.
to do
We call
these
them
things.
government.
And instead they take $500,000 a year to make sure there's more cultures involved in the thing instead of like...
And as I say, when the effing door blows off a Boeing plane, the CEO loses his job.
Yeah.
And they put somebody in better who knows engineering, who will not
100%.
let that happen.
Yeah.
Why can't we do the same thing here? Let's do the same thing. Boeing, that took a month before they got rid of that guy.
And I've only learned about it for like the last 6 days because now fires is all I'm thinking about. So I have only
Wait till we
6
get to
days-
earthquakes.
I have 6 days of information about fires. And I've already learned that like when you see this on a palm tree, this is just dead kindling.
Tinder. Kindling.
In Florida, they take care of that. They manage. How many of these have you seen on the ground in between parking spots? And we pay a lot in taxes. I imagine you make good money. You pay the tax money to take care of those things. Very simple thing that I can just see on my drive to coffee.
Listen,
that should be fixed.
Look up eucalyptus trees.
Yeah.
And how dangerous those are. We have multiple different kinds here.
Trees,
And so you go, well, I pay this much in taxes. And I can see the things not being done, and they're more interested in giving cell phones to people who aren't even like citizens here.
Right. Well, that's the part. The fact that it's all going to non-citizens and citizens are literally dying and burning up as a result, that says it all. That says everything you need to say. And there is no backing away from that, even if it's just optics.
Yeah.
It's enough.
And also,
it's
California,
enough.
you just lost a ton of people who put a lot of bread into this city. Those celebrities, all those rich people that everyone wants to scoff at, they pay the most taxes. And now they're going to say, no, let's go to Texas. Let's go to
2% of the taxes.
Nevada.
2% of the population pays like 70% of the taxes in the state.
Now, if they leave, no, I hope you know what you do, Palisades? Just make it another homeless encampment that you love so much, because I mean, like you've lost all these like hardworking rich people who are providing for the entire state.
Yeah.
So good job,
Edmund Burke. Edmund Burke is who I was thinking of.
I'm gonna say my usual. It's probably gonna be all bought up by China. So
Probably.
get ready for that.
Susan's very worried about China stepping in. Jeff, it's been a privilege.
Yeah, thanks for having
I wanted to ask one more thing. Books. What were the books? What books would you recommend for people
if you're
your
starting
age,
off-
struggling,
Yeah.
trying to make a narrative of their life, as Jordan
anything
Peterson would
Jordan
say?
Peterson is good. Anything with Sam Harris is very good. I'm a big advocate of those two. But if you want to like more about modern stuff, Tim Urban has a good book called "What Is Our Problem."
Well, you said the literature you read. I'm interested
Yeah.
in that.
I'm looking for. Oh, this is my Audible. By the way, anytime I talk about books,
You heard him.
I've never read a book in my life. But I listen.
You should take it up. It's pretty good.
I listen to about 4 books a week because I'm in airplanes.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm in terminals.
But it affects you differently when you read it. It
Sure.
just does.
Oh,
Yeah.
Drew.
That's just me.
But people listen to podcasts. They're listening to your show now.
Oh, I don't want you to listen to less.
you
I
listen.
want
Some
you to. I want you to
listen
also
better
read.
Than they read, and
That's me.
as
I
with
get it.
dyslexia, Like
I'm the same
Okay.
way.
it would took me
Me too.
7 months to
Okay, if
finish
you have
one of these books.
dyslexia, then listen.
Yeah.
Keep listening.
You wrote a book though.
Yeah, I'm looking through all of them right now. I'm trying
Put
to
his
find
book up here since we're talking about books that
Meditations
people
is
wrote.
Good.
Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, but that's like a kind of a classic.
Well, but you could read that every day to get little inspirations.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius.
And that's
David Goggins is great. A lot of guy-heavy stuff in
Last
here.
Cowboy in L.A. is not. That's your special,
The Power
right?
of Attention by Dr.
Yeah, I don't
Wayne
have his book.
Dyer.
Hold on a second. Oh, there's special. Okay, what's your book? What is your book title? You wrote a book?
I've never written a
Oh,
book.
Susan
in my
said
life.
you wrote a book.
No.
No, it's
You guys were
Joel
saying I should write
Pollak.
one earlier.
Joel, okay,
Joel
we
Pollak.
need to. Okay, let's read Joel's book.
Shows the agenda what Trump should do in
I'm
his
sorry,
first.
it's at the top of the show. I
Okay,
thought-
agenda what Trump should do in his first 100 days. Interesting to see if it's there. It is. We put it up when Joel was up there.
Real shelf life on that book.
So you said you read Ivan Illich.
3
Did you
years
read
from now, you'll go, maybe.
you read War and Peace or anything?
Yeah, War and Peace is
You
great.
you read War and Peace?
Some of them are so long.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like
I
literally
know.
like 20 hours of listening.
Oh, at least.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So they're all kind of mixed in with all these other Christian books too. So I'm doing the thing. The Addiction Formula, 12 Rules for Life, The Power of Positive Thinking. And then I pipe her in. This was the same week, Ted Turner's Call Me Ted.
So Power of Positive Thinking is a really interesting one. That I think Trump advocated that too. There's something like that. Who wrote that?
It says Norman Vincent Peale.
Yes,
Yeah.
Norman Vincent Peale had a huge influence on Trump. Apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those type of books are funny because my friends are like, "You're very positive. What are you talking about? You don't even need this." I was like, "No, but it."
Does it require a regular practice? Like you have to I don't know, meditation or something where you think to yourself, "I have to stay positive." Or you just keep it top of mind, or how do you?
I've always done it naturally. That's what comes naturally to me.
Positive.
Most. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just because I think as a bored, neglected kid, you have to kind of keep yourself going.
Yes.
A big part of me, but like earlier you asked, like, what does this virtue come from, or your pursuit of trying to be good?
Yes.
I think it's because selfishly, when you're good, you feel the best. So it's almost selfish to be nice to people because, if I'm nice to the person, then they'll be nice to me.
Okay.
So you get a reward back from
It's
it.
golden rule.
Yeah, and it
plain,
works.
plain old golden rule.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
I'd like more friends. I'd like more stuff. I'd like more positive interactions. I'd like more laughter. And the way
Well,
to get that is by having a good attitude.
Let us all participate in that with Jeff Dye. Follow him on X. Do they have to buy the special, or they look for it?
No, it's on YouTube for
YouTube.
free. And then
Okay.
also I'm touring. So if you just go to jeffdye.com, you can get tickets to see me anywhere you want.
Where's your next show?
I am in Burbank on Thursday, but it's sold out. And then I go to Sacramento Punchline for 2 shows on Sunday.
Nice.
And Rancho Murrieta on Saturday at a really cool resort.
And then when you film the new one, we're gonna.
But I'm
Sure,
headlining
sure,
Mothership in Austin, July 11th, 12th, and 13th, which will be awesome. And
Be fun.
a lot of cool things coming up. So just go to jeffdye.com.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Keep
Thanks
doing
for
what you're doing.
coming in.
Yeah, thanks for
it's
coming
always
on.
fun to have somebody in the studio. It's nice.
Oh, I
to,
love it.
Yeah, we missed a couple of times. We've got a grandchild coming any minute, and so
Oh,
it's
really?
had us everything on hold.
Yeah.
And then the fires hit.
I'm surprised you haven't done stand up yet. You
stand
wear
up.
so many
They've
hats.
asked him to. He's
I
done
do-
the Skank Fest.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah,
No.
That's the
every
most
time.
aggressive of all the festivals.
Yes, we do that.
but I fish out of water. Somebody make fun of. I'm your guy. You know what I mean?
I
So
guess you could have done like a love line like thing because
Yeah.
those people are animals. They'd be like
that's
telling you about all
that's
their
sort of what they
sexual
asked me to
things.
do
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But I've done the Legion of Skanks a number of times in New York,
Nice.
and so I've been the straight guy for Corolla for so many years. I know how to kind of keep up with
Yeah.
comics, and I appreciate what they're doing. I love Dave Smith. Do you know Dave
Yeah,
Smith?
I love Dave. Yeah.
I mean, he's
I
just-
don't know him. I'm a fan.
He's he's so great. But stand up is not my thing.
Right.
But I like speaking.
Okay.
And so if I can speak to an audience about a topic that I think is important, then I'm all in.
I love it. Yeah, I feel like you do everything. I feel like I'm always seeing your name.
I've been around a little bit. It's great. It's like
That's
crazy.
how you're
It's
supposed to do it.
so weird. My career has been so weird to me.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be just in my doctor's office down in South
Right, that's
Pasadena.
what
and
doctors do. Yeah,
that'd be it. You know,
You're part of the modern invention of like you can't just sell cupcakes. You have to be like the TV cupcake guy.
Or
You
what-
can't be a housewife. You have to be the real housewife of Atlanta. You know, so you're like the famous doctor.
It's just odd.
Yeah.
But it's been a great experience, and it's been humbling, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
And and my only goal has been to do good, make good.
Well, what a
and do something good.
responsibility
So,
you have, to be honest. Like we were talking about it right here. So good on you.
Yeah. So, my friend, thank you. Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
very
I'm
much.
glad you came in. And for everyone else, let's put the schedule up here, guys. Tomorrow, I think, are we skipping tomorrow? We're on tomorrow. Tomorrow is Viva Fry.
No, you have a show at 12 o'clock.
That'll be at noon. Dave Rubin is coming
Wait,
by.
no, tomorrow's at,
Hold on a second. Yes, that's the 15th.
yeah, because
That's at 3, everybody. The Viva Fry is
Yes,
at
tomorrow's
3,
regular
correct? Yes.
Yes, 3.
And then Thursday with Dave Rubin is at noon. And then the following week, you see
And I
what's
have a
coming
show
up
at
there.
3:00. We're going to do predictions with our psychic mediums at Calling Out with Susan Pinsky.
That is 3:00 on
After Dave Rubin.
Thursday. And
Unless
there's
I'm in the hospital watching my granddaughter
right that
come
could,
into
that
the
could
world.
get in the way of all this stuff. All right, everybody, thank you much for being here.
I
Appreciate
can't predict it though. We're
Well,
wrong every time.
Yes. You guys are great on the rants. You're great over on the restream. We love seeing the comments. Follow along during the show. If those of you are out on X want to come on in on the restream, I see Jennifer Lynn, you're there from X. The restream is something I keep an eye on during the show. So if something
Jennifer
you really
shows
want me
up
to
every day.
see something, just put it in there. I'll
And we
join.
love your
If I don't catch it,
comments on
Susan will.
X. I know we talk about Rumble a lot here, but we were happy when Rumble gave us the opportunity to free ourselves from YouTube. But in the meanwhile, X has really stepped it up. We are able to go live, and we appreciate your viewership there too.
And we are happy to bring Facebook and YouTube back on, gaff them back on the team here. It'd be a delight to have all those outlets. We appreciate it. I have nothing against any of it. So
Stop canceling us.
we will see. We'll see you all tomorrow at 3:00 with hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm so
Viva
discombobulated
Fry.
with Viva
Viva.
Fry. Yes, there we go. Do that.
That was fun.
Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.